People, I'm back here with the old Apache build. Notice I got my glasses on. I caught a little bit of brake cleaner in the eye a minute ago trying to get some of the sludge out of this Chevrolet oil pan. But Joe and I were talking the other day about, you know, I'm not always super familiar with the 350 Chevrolet, small block Chevrolets, any of that, like I am Mopars. You know, obviously most engines go together the same. It's got the same firing order, that's good. But just assembling this motor, I was seeing some differences, you know, that I'd mentioned to him. I said, man, that seems kind of like it's a shortcoming in comparison to a Mopar. We talked about it. And he said, well, you know, this motor was built, make 280 horsepower, be driven under 5,000 RPM, and go 200,000 miles. After that, doesn't really matter. And that's kind of the industry standard, I guess. Is just they build them to go out and live in the car in an expected lifetime. And once that's done, they cycle them out. They want you to you're buying new vehicles. They don't want you to keep rebuilding old vehicles anymore. But this, like small block Chevrolet and small block Dodge, they're easily rebuildable. So some things that I noticed kind of first off, which, you probably already know this. One, there's so many head bolts in a small block Chevrolet. I think there were 17 versus a small block Dodge that I think only has 10. But I've got here, try to show you a comparison. These are the head bolts that came out of my 360. So that looks to be a 1/2-inch bolt. They come in a couple different lengths. The bottom bolts are the short ones. They give you one long bolt that goes in where the rocker arms oil. But just to look at the difference, I understand 10 1/2-inch bolts have a different clamping force than 17. I'm assuming those are 3/8 or 7/16. I'll look it up and post it right here. Yeah, so the clamping load's different. In theory, you might actually have a better clamping load with more bolts. And since there's more bolts, you could have fewer of them. So that's one quick thing. Flipping back over, which, hey, while we're here, we can talk about rocker arms. So, these are obviously the old adjustable rockers. Mopars are on a shaft. I like the shaft design so much better. It's got 5 bolts, holds that shaft down. And if they make ways of upgrading, or they probably sell upgraded heads that are actually on the shaft, for more strength and durability. People switch over to the shaft, which I like better about the Mopar. I'm a little bit biased. Anyway, flipping over, we can talk about oiling for a minute, which this motor is the 1-piece rear main. Let me zoom in on that. So that seems to be a really nice, a nice setup. When I built my Gen 3 Hemi 5.7, it's got a 1-piece rear main. It reminds me a lot of this one. And when they sell you one for the 5.7 Hemi, it actually comes with the entire piece and everything that bolts on, which is much nicer than I've got the old one here. I see a lot of people online that they drill a hole in this and pull that out pry it out with something. But since this is out, I should be able to drive it out from the back, probably there and there. But that's pretty neat design. I like that, which the earlier Chevrolet blocks had a 2-piece. So apples to apples. Chevrolet did improve on that later. But the oil pump is what's getting me. I'm kind of, I scratched my head on this. Here's the old dirty stock one. But let me walk you over to the brand new pump. And this is kind of what I think is one of their major shortcomings. Alright, so this is a Engine Tech EPK 140. It's just a standard volume. Like I said, this motor is a just a street motor. He's probably never gonna. He might hit 5,000 RPM on accident one time, but. So here's that oil pump. You know, looking at it, everything's nice, but I noticed the difference. This is not threaded. So I got the old pickup out, cleaned up, washed out, and my first instinct was to unscrew it, but it doesn't unscrew. It just presses in. I mean, to me, that's a flaw. That's, you know, I watch several videos online. People say, you know, they noticed that they take a motor apart and this had been rubbing the bottom of the oil pan for no telling how many miles, which that could have been put together wrong. Okay. Or people find these, they vibrate out and are laying in the bottom of the oil pan, then it starts sucking, you know, sucking air here if the oil level's not all the way up to it. So that's kind of a flaw in my opinion. Which, you know, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm not an expert on 350 Chevrolets by any means. Something else that kind of got me, I noticed the oil pump shaft hanging off. I knocked the other one off. Here's that factory oil pump shaft cleaned up, and it goes here, just like that. And they send you in this little package, a little plastic sleeve. And I did see online that most people, I had to take a hammer and a chisel and basically knock that other one off there. It was still solid and on. But I see online that most people, you know, just throw this away and buy an aftermarket that has a sleeve or a metal collar on it that's riveted on, which that would be a much better design. But, you know, if we're looking apples to apples, the intermediate shaft on the Mopar goes in with that hexagonal head, which I broke one the other day because, you know, a bad oil pump or something. I don't know. But this has a lot more margin of error to me. Let me take that out for a minute. Which I've seen the remedy to this online. After you get it aligned and driven in correctly, put a couple spots on it with a welder. I'm gonna go walk down the street and borrow my buddy's welder. Mine's at the shop, but and then the remedy to this is to get the better shaft, so I can do that. But something else I was looking at. Set that off just a minute. So basically, it's going to go down. There's our shaft that goes through the block, and this is held on by two dowels, which I'm assuming they're hardened dowels. And it drops down. I had this on just a second ago. There it is. So one bolt right through the center holds that down. And a lot of people online also mentioned, you know, which YouTube's good for that. Cap out of the way. So a lot of other people online mentioned that's the back of the bearing. So I guess I'm not sure why they had to go that deep all the way through the cap. It was probably easier, just a machining process. But they say to get out something for a depth finder and be sure that your bolt that holds this oil pump on doesn't go all the way down, hits the back of that. I'm sure there's got to be thousands of people in the world that probably didn't know that, and they're bolting their 350 Chevrolet together and they tighten the piss out of it, and that bolt rams that bearing down into the back of that motor, and they wonder, man, my motor burned up real quick. You know, or these fly-by-night shops that rebuild motors, you know, three motors a day, like an assembly line, and they get a new guy in there, and his first day, he cranks that bolt down into there, and it's all over. Everything else on the motor seems fine. As I'm going through it, looking, let me get this out of the way. We talk about clearances. You know, this is a just stock stroke 350, and there's so much piston skirt hanging out of the block right there. That amazes me. Like you know, I'm blown. I guess I'm just not used to seeing that. Like there it is all the way out. But I just imagine some instability rocking back and forth, you know, especially at high RPMs. That's got to have enough rock that, you know, could damage something. Or I've heard of people breaking skirts before. But also, this is, like I said, stock stroke engine. Let's look around it. Look how tight that gap is right there. See if I can get to it. Here's my trusty screwdriver I love seeing around the engines. But like that, yes, that's enough clearance. It just, in my mind, after I first saw that, I thought, wow, that thing's so tight in this engine. Something else I wanted to show you. It's just real quick. Here's a crank throw, that distance right there, which I see now why if you were going to make a Chevrolet block a stroker, they'd probably have to cut that dude way out. But look at how close this is. I would guess that's probably 50 thousandths or something. Right there. Like that's... I can barely get the tip of my screwdriver in, but watch as that dude turns. I mean, I'm amazed. I guess whenever that thrust bearing in the back wears out, which that was another difference I had noticed. Mopar thrust bearings are on the center, very center of the crank, which I don't know if that's any better or worse, but you know, it stabilizes from the center outward. This one's in the very back. So I kind of like that idea because whenever, like this is going behind or in front of a 4-speed, so you know that thrust bearing is going to take a lot of wear back and forth, and it'll actually stop it here. You know, but in 10 years, 20 years, if this is a, you know, quality rebuilt engine, you know, how much play is it going to take for that crank to be able to move back and forth? I'm guessing it's whatever that is, 40 or 50 thousandths or whatever. I haven't measured it, but you know, it's just a design difference. I can't say one is a shortcoming over the other or not. I did also notice, like on these mains, the caps themselves, which this is a 2-bolt main block, so I'm just trying to compare apples to apples. These main bolts are tiny compared to a Mopar. Like, there's our Mopar main bolt, which these bolts here, they're probably sufficient for what they do. I was just thinking that, you know, the length on a Mopar one, being a 1/2-inch bolt, it had blown me away. I had to go, I said, well, I should go grab a, what was that, 11/16 or 3/4 or something, pop these loose. And I'm looking like, I think that was a like 9/16 head, or maybe 5/8. Maybe it was a 5/8 head. But it blew me away on how, how much less engineering it blew me away on how much smaller that hardware was to do the same job. You know, I was amazed by that. Like these narrow caps. I don't have a Mopar cap here to show you, but I think the Mopar cap is about 1 inch wider overall. You know, I don't have the specs on crankshaft journal size or any of that. Even being a simpleton as I am, I could play the game called Spot the Difference. And, you know, one of these things was not like the other one. You know, using a bolt that's 2 sizes or a size larger, would probably be stronger. I'm not a mechanical engineer. I'm not a scientist. I'm not anything but a backyard fool around mechanic. But from what I've noticed, my money's still on Mopar. So thank y'all for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and get to talking. Like, I don't know everything, obviously, but if you've noticed other differences I'm not even listing here, put them in the comments. You know, let's have a discussion. Like I said, I'm learning from this experience just like I do everything else. It's going to be a good running motor when I'm done, and I'm gonna finish. I'll probably finish it up today, but I wanted to make a video that was a little bit different, and I'll see y'all next time.